So joining me this morning is Shaun Gietman, an ACES and Swinburne University PhD student who's almost about to submit his thesis. How you doing, Shaun?
Not too bad, Sam. Yourself?
Pretty good. A little bit better than you, considering I'm not in lockdown in Melbourne. How's that been?
Well, we're just adjusting to it now. Stage 4 obviously is coming in the last couple of days, and that's pretty stressful and really tightening up what we can actually do. But just got to keep on going, really, I think.
So as I mentioned there, you're almost about to submit your thesis. How close is that?
Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. It's sort of been a blessing in disguise having the lockdown. It sort of put a hard cutoff date on the actual experiments I can do. So now it's just been writing from home, which is sort of motivating me to then just do the writing side rather than back and forth with experiments.
Yeah, so I believe you studied your undergrad at at Swinburne.
Yep.
So you obviously did your PhD at Swinburne as well. So why the decision firstly to do a PhD, and why at Swinburne?
So when I did, as you said, did my undergrad at Swinburne and then my honours after that, and just doing my honours gave me a taste of research and that sort of world, and what's next in science after doing a degree. And I really enjoyed the challenge of that honours gave me, and then sort of thought, what's the next step? Do I go into industry, do I look for a job, or do I continue and do a PhD? And then my supervisor now, Simon Moulton, had recently started at Swinburne while I was finishing my honours. Then he came along with a project right just as I submitted my honours thesis, and offered me that. So I thought, sure, I'll keep going. And it sounded like a great project. So I was happy to take it on.
So delving into that project a little bit more, what have you been looking at?
So the main focus of the project is drug delivery using thermoresponsive polymers. So when we looked at it initially, we found some research gaps in the space of really controlling or understanding how we can release drugs from a thermoresponsive polymer using infrared stimulation. So there's a lot of work that's been done with these sorts of materials, but the limitation we found was sort of really understanding the key sort of relationship between stimulation and drug release. And that's something we really tried to target in our work in a paper we published. And that all tied in with Simon's ACES connection with the larger project, the Brain on a Bench, where they're looking at a neurological model. So sort of my smaller project in drug delivery ties into that much larger project within ACES and a bunch of the other collaborators.
So some pretty fascinating findings, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been really challenging, but really sort of exciting, and a lot of good lab exposure and really exciting collaborators to work with as well.
So throughout that PhD experience, what were some key technical and also non-technical skills you've picked up throughout?
I think in the latter stages of the project, I had to start doing some cell culture work as well, and that's something that I'd only really touched on in my my undergrad. So it was sort of really nice to come and try some of those more techniques. Coming from a chemistry background, I'm more familiar with the chromatography and spectroscopy type experiments, but that was a nice challenge, and I really enjoyed trying something new in the lab. As far as soft skills or more non-technical skills, I think my communications really stepped up since starting a PhD. I used to hate doing it whenever it was presentation time in undergrad or for honours. I wanted to avoid it like the plague, but obviously you've got to do these things. But just doing workshops and presentations in meetings throughout the PhD has really helped me, I think. And that's something I've really now started to enjoy.
Yeah, so, as you said, you almost have submitted, and, soon you'll look for a job after completing that PhD. It's a bit hard to sort of say now, especially with the COVID situation, but what's the next career development for you, development pathway?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, COVID's really put a spanner into the works as far as looking for work. So at this stage, I am actively looking for what I can find as I submit my thesis, which is challenging, but anything sort of in the same sort of space that I'm looking at, even the sort of more abstract application of the research and my background in chemistry, I think would suit me quite well. But obviously it's just a matter of time and finding what fits right in this particular environment, which is not without its challenges. But yeah, hopefully we can find something in the near future.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And this is obviously very tough to answer, but where would you like to see yourself in, say, 5-10 years time from now?
Ideally not in lockdown, for one thing. I think moving towards more of a leadership role, I've always sort of thrived or tended towards sort of leadership or mentoring other people when I've worked with them or in any sort of environment. So I think that's sort of something that would suit me going forward into a research or a R&D position. Just sort of working my way up and actually getting into those sort of supervisory roles, or even if it's not an official supervisory role, just still being a bit more of a leader in the workforce.
Great. Well, thanks for your time today, and all the best with the next few weeks in submitting that PhD and in lockdown as well.
Thank you very much. No, thanks for the time.
Pleasure to speak to you.